David is here. David, where are you calling from?
Jersey City, New Jersey. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
Oh, I'm fantastic.
Fantastic. What do you want to talk about on the show?
As much as I would love to bug you about road shows and everything else there, I've turned a new leaf and we are turning the
Dude,
take in a
David,
different.
wait, David, really quickly. When I heard about the roadshow thing, the first thing I did was message Mark and be like, "Wow, David's gonna fucking hate you." You called it. He called it the Hotline League and used to say there should be a roadshow every other week with the LCS. And Mark brings the roadshow count down 50% in his first year as commissioner. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead and put your take.
My take is how about them thieves, baby? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rendezvous, your series for everything 100 Thieves LCS. My name's David Shynock. You'll notice a few less cuts today in a few different locations than I would normally do, and by a few different, I mean literally just this one, because Coco, who's our little Chewini here, she's 6 years old, but she has a slipped disc in her back. So she is limited to just relaxing and being on medication that will help her get over this. So I'm not going to move around. I'm here to just keep her calm, make sure that she doesn't overdo it, which actually is going to be the theme of this episode as a whole, because the first stage, or the first round robin of the spring split, is officially over. We potentially only have 3 more weeks left of the LCS until June if we don't make playoffs. But sitting in a much prettier position than most people would have put us at the beginning of the year. At the moment, we are currently top 2 in the LCS, only behind FlyQuest and tied with both NRG and Cloud9. However, because of the close proximity of the league in general, that also means that we're only 2 games away from last place in the league. So it's anything goes at this point. But let's get back to the week that was first. Starting with our first game, the grudge match against Busio and FlyQuest, who's now the best team in the league, and in hindsight, a loss here doesn't really feel all that bad, and it shouldn't have felt bad whenever we came into the week in the first place. This was the first time that we had a draft that I didn't really care for, at least relative to our opponent. FlyQuest had a lot of go buttons, whether it was Nico ult, Varus ult, Maokai's ult to go in, Azir could go in and shuffle, and then you obviously have Olaf who can just go in and mess us up amidst all of that. And for our comp, well, we didn't really have much. You have whatever Silos could steal from the other team, and Renata's ult, which is more of a disengage than it necessarily is a engage ult. This comp would rely on us getting ahead early, which luckily we actually did in bot lane. For the first time, we saw Meech get first blood. On an early game pick like Kalista, it's exactly what we wanted to see. Problem was, we fell behind elsewhere. Azir obviously beats Silas early on, as he's range versus Silas's melee, and Olaf is Olaf. So River ultimately fell behind in this game, and it got ugly pretty quick. We lost control of the bottom river, 1 lost fight, and all of a sudden they have 4 kills and have pressure all over the map. Also, Sniper unfortunately was 1 auto away from getting a solo kill on the Whippo, but it went the opposite direction. So everything started spiraling out of control immediately. And while we had 1 or 2 counter punches, yeah, there wasn't really much we could do at that point. FlyQuest is just playing absolutely incredible. And I would like to see us have another go around with a different comp that's a little bit easier to execute, or at least has a few more go buttons. But yeah, we just kind of chucked it away from that moment and it never really recovered. So hey, it is what it is. No sense in dwelling on 1 loss like that, because we've got 2 other wins to talk about. First is Immortals, which I know most people will look at them historically and be like, oh, it's a win against Immortals. But no, Immortals legitimately is one of the contenders of this league and a dark horse to possibly sneak into top 3 or top 4. They're apparently scrim gods, and each player on their team has been stepping up slowly but surely as the weeks go on, and they're going to be a threat come the second round robin. That said, we had an Exodia comp. Holy dear God. First time seeing Meech on Aphelios, which if you don't know, Meech apparently likes these immobile carries, those that pump out a little bit more damage, and the late game scalers think more like Jinx, Aphelios in this case, and a little bit of Xayah, which we'll get into that one. But even though we gave up a slight gold lead early, it never really felt like we were out of it. It felt like we scaled incredibly well, and that's exactly what happened. When mid to late game team fights came, we just performed amazing. It was close up until about the 30-minute mark, and then we flipped the switch and it was over just like that. Massive props in this game should go to Ayla. His Milio is actually incredible. It might be the best in the league. Anytime Zach was trying to go in or Rel was trying to go in, it felt like he always had a knockback ready and was constantly in a position where he was able to make sure that Aphelios never died, which is exactly what you want to see if Meech is going to be playing these big carries come late game. So yeah, it was a pretty good one. but even better was the Shopify win. If the last game was a comp that would be considered Exodia, which I think might be slight exaggeration, it's just a late game comp that if we get there, we automatically win. Yet this comp's just straight up disgusting. I was not ready for the Aatrox counter to Scion, and Quid might be one of the best Aatroxes in the league. The man was on fire, up 20 or 30 CS early on, having the time of his life. Meanwhile, bot lane, Meech had probably the most amount of souls at 20 minutes I think I've ever seen in the LCS. I personally praise FBI for being an incredibly good Senna and very efficient with his soul stacking, similar to Reckless was back in 2020 when he was in his prime. And this felt even quicker than that. It was unbelievable. Once we hit 15 minutes, we took a lead and then we just never gave it up and fights just became impossible. Now, Sniper did notably run it down once, got a little bit too hypey as he was already playing well, but one or two mistakes ultimately meant nothing in the grand scheme of things because we would go on to smash this game. And I've got a special surprise for everybody. I've got the first interview of the Rendezvous series with our star carry, Meech. This was notably on day 2 of the Super Week after our Immortals win and prior to Shopify. Enjoy.
A little slow in the early game, but came around. So walk me through the first 3 weeks of the LCS so far. What's your experience like being fresh on the stage?
It's definitely kind of like at first it was kind of like nerve-wracking. It still kind of is, just playing on the LCS setup and just with the crowd and like this is way different. I'm still not fully used to it, I feel like, but it's a lot of fun for sure.
Is there a particular experience so far that's kind of stuck out in your mind of like the holy shit, like I'm actually here?
Uh Let me think. Maybe after we won, we played Dig, I think, and like the game was really, really close, and then we won. It was like after the game, I was just kind of like taking it all in, and like it was just yeah, I guess after we beat Dig.
Gotcha. I think it's safe to say you've played against a lot of lanes that have kind of pushed you guys in, whether it was like a Jin Ash comp on the other side, whether like it felt like you guys were kind of put into situations where you just had to kind of get through lane early. You kind of pivoted over to the Varus last week, which you were putting up a ton of damage numbers. And now you also pulled out the Aphelios today. What's your thoughts on the bot lane meta, the champions you've gotten to play so far? And is there anybody that you really want to play that you haven't gotten the chance to?
I'd say like the meta right now, there's a lot of viability, but there's also just a lot of champs that are really, really OP. So I'd say first few weeks, like we thought certain champs were really OP, even though like for example, when we played Seraphine, we just thought it was extremely broken, so it didn't matter like if we lost lane because we just win the game. But obviously it sucks, when you're playing like useless champs early game and just need to like try to just farm. But as for a champ I want to play, I want to play Zaya probably.
Okay.
That's like one of the most fun champs for me. But if I see an angle, maybe. But she's not like amazing right now. But we'll see.
So they released the Heist series. It finally came back. Fans were watching it over the past few days. You were probably one of the big faces of it alongside Sniper. Do you like on the content side, do you enjoy doing stuff like that? Like, is there anything that you really want to do on the content front that you haven't had the chance to yet?
Um, I wouldn't say I enjoy it necessarily because like I'm just kind of just being myself, and just like just being myself. So I wouldn't say there's anything I particularly want to do, but yeah, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna be myself.
That's fair. I need to really stop saying that's fair after literally every single statement. I don't know. Anything you want to say to people? Anything you want to get out there and let the fans know?
Yeah, I'll say obviously like we've had good games, bad games, but everyone on the team is working really hard and we're all, putting our best foot forward to try to just get better. And I think we'll show good performances in the future for sure. And don't give up on us or anything, because we're just getting started.
Seems like public sentiments come around very quickly on you guys. I know last week River mentioned to Travis Gafford that there were some communication issues that you guys were just kind of working through as like a younger team. Do you feel like it's developing as time is going on?
Yeah, for sure. I think it even showed in just the game we played right now, because like um communication between solo laners and everyone else is like was something that we had to work on a lot. And I think this game both the solo laners had really good like plays, moves to just start fights. So I think we've shown a lot of improvement.
Gotcha. Final two things I got for your shorter questions, more for TikTok. First, Taylor Swift is going to the Super Bowl now with the Chiefs and Travis Kelce. Do you have a favorite Taylor Swift song?
Um I honestly don't really listen to Taylor Swift, so let me think. What's a good song by her? I honestly
There's
don't know. Maybe yeah, I'm not sure. I don't really have a favorite song.
That's a theme that I'm getting with a lot of people lately. And then the second is there's been a Pokemon tease from 100 Thieves side. Do you have a favorite Pokemon?
I like Rayquaza a lot, or Blastoise probably. Those are my two favorites.
Okay, good to know. I won't take up any more of your time, man. You guys got a pretty big game against Shopify tomorrow. Go get some rest and best of luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Have a go, man.
You too.
Earlier today, I asked on Twitter for your thoughts on 100 Thieves so we could kind of look at a retrospective of the first half of the split. There's a few that I want to specifically call out, and the first is Quid. This man had more pressure on him coming into this split than any other player on the team, including Sniper, because of how bad last split was. And my man has stepped up entirely, has carried us for more than a few games so far, and even in the losses has been proactive and tried to make plays whenever it looked like we were down and out. Our proactivity in general just seems off the charts. We've touched on this slightly before, but it's been even more apparent as the games have gone on that we are just willing to fight and we're willing to take chances. And part of that comes from Quid being able to mechanically outplay these situations. He's hands diffing people in a way that we haven't really seen from a mid laner since Abadage first stepped into the LCS. The second, and many people called this out, is Golden Glue and the coaching staff and analyst staff that we have at 100 Thieves. Spooks, Chimera, all of them are putting in a ton of work, and our drafts might be some of the best in the LCS. I think most people agree that we're up there, probably top 2 with FlyQuest when it comes to just drafts that are better than the other team on the day. Whether we perform or not, different story. Obviously, our skill level depends. We're still growing. We're still a young squad, but our coaching staff is doing a phenomenal job because nobody expected us to be at this point, and these players are improving at a pretty rapid pace relative to what people thought they would. People thought, oh, we'd be, come summer, a threat. As Cubby notably pointed out, whenever I called in the Hotline League to try and build up some hype for the squad.
I want to see more. I still don't think 100 Thieves, I think they're going to be a borderline playoff team when it's all said and done. But I think that they had a really nice first round robin, so we'll see.
Dude, David, Cubby just said borderline playoffs team.
My expectation was just to make playoffs and we go from there. I'm expecting it to be a different world come best of fives. We're young. I fully understand that that'll be our weak point. I'm just proving the point that we're not 8th. That's all that I cared about more than anything
you're celebrating?
else. Hell yeah. You celebrate the small wins. The prior call and Spawn was just about we want to see more positivity. And I'm out here praising anything but 8th and you're giving me shit. Come on now.
No, I like this. This is what teams should be like, by the way. This is what fans should be like.
But as I said there, and I'll repeat here, expectations still should be just to make playoffs. Again, we're as equal distant to first as we are to last. It is not going to be easy, so we need to temper expectations and reel them in. You need to pace yourself. Now is when it becomes incredibly important as a 100 Thieves fan to understand the position that we're in. As we go into the second round robin, people are going to be more critical because, yeah, we beat TL, so what happens if we lose this time? Well, are people going to be more upset? No, you shouldn't be. TL still looks good. Don't change expectations just because of how we started. Expectations were set for the end of the split, and the goal is just to make playoffs. Don't get hypercritical. Still be hopeful. Be excited. Don't let me temper excitement for this roster. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to make sure that people understand the position that we are actually in, which is we still have a long road ahead. Hey, Luna. But before we get into a preview of the second half of the split, let's talk about org news because we got 2 massive announcements this past week. First and foremost, The Heist is back, the critically acclaimed series from 100 Thieves that documents the entirety of the LCS program. They covered the first 2 weeks in entirety with interviews with both Meech and Sniper. It was incredible and gave a ton of backstory behind some of these players and the moments that were the first 2 weeks of the split. I'm assuming this is going to be a bi-weekly thing where we get the next one next week after, both Super Week and the week upcoming. If we get more than that, great. But I'm just happy that we got YouTube content because on the last episode, I literally called it out and then we immediately get something afterwards. So, hey, I'm happy and I'm not going to complain. And the second, in case you've been living under a rock, is that we are getting a Pokemon and 100 Thieves drop. You can check out their website for all the different pieces, and I'm personally getting the starter Charmander t-shirt. I think it looks credible. If I had unlimited money, the other 2 things I would get would be the blue collared windbreaker. I think is absolutely sick, and then either the Pikachu hoodie or the Gengar hoodie, one of the 2. But unfortunately, slip disc and all, she might have to get x-rays soon, so I can't be spending any excess money. So let's get into the second half, because our schedule this week is not easy. Let's be clear, regardless of whether C9 is on a 4-game skid or not, it is a matter of time until they turn it around. And even if they don't, you can't go into this game assuming that they will. We already had a close fought match against TL the first time around. Securing a 2-0 against them would be massive, but they are pretty much our equal in the standings. They have been improving week over week. Unlike C9, I personally don't feel worried if we give up Ziggs. We already beat it the first time around, and I don't think it's ego to give it up a second time because clearly we have a strategy behind it. Even if APA will end up playing better, I think some of our other lanes will end up playing better as well. I have no clue how Smolder is going to work into our drafts, whether Meech likes him or not, whether it's something that we are going to see, but it's right in line with the scaling champions that we expect to see from him. It is a big week for Sniper. Going against both Fudge and Impact, yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Brother, you just got to go even. If you can win a lane, great, but for sure, don't lose it. And beyond that, we just hope for the best this week. If you aren't aware, after these 2 games, we have a 2-week break. The LCS won't be back until March 2nd. And if there's one thing you'll learn is that when you go into breaks like this, you want to make sure that you at least have some sort of positive momentum going into it. The last thing you want to do is go on a slide, because while yes, those 2 weeks can be used to turn it around and come out with an entirely different look afterwards, it's a lot better when you can go into that period on a high. And being honest, I think 1-1 this week is still perfectly fine. Let's try to avoid the 0-2, but a win against either of these teams will go a very long way, especially considering that we've already beaten the teams below us. If we can keep beating the middle of the pack right now, that just elevates it even further. But I'm not getting my expectations up. I'm just hoping for the best, hoping for clean play. And if we fall behind, keep taking those risks, keep taking those chances, because hey, the pressure is going to start ramping up from now on, and I don't want to see these guys lock up whenever the pressure starts mounting. That's it for me. Again, I know a little bit calmer episode of the Rendezvous. I couldn't really do as much in terms of skits or anything. Sorry. That'll be back next week. Hopefully as Coco hopefully is better, but for now, she takes my priority. Otherwise, that's it from us. Hope to catch you at the live view of the games on Twitch. Otherwise, I'll be here. Adios.